Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how are you today? In today's video, I want to discuss something that was brought to my attention by a subscriber. She emailed this to me and, I honestly did not know about this. Maybe some of you did, but I honestly did not. So I will read the email to you. It's nothing personal, okay? And then I'm going to attach the pictures that she sent me in this email at the end of this video, okay? So you can see what she's explaining, okay? And it's really, really sad, honestly. It's about Lebanon, okay, and what's going on in that country. And it's kind of like ringing bells like what's going on in Venezuela. And you never thought that it could get any worse than Venezuela. Wow. Geez, this is about hyperinflation, okay? But this started in 2019, okay? So here we go, all right? She says, hey there, a few people know that Lebanon lost 80% of their currency's value in just one winter in 2019. Nescafe coffee, if you have ever heard of, I'm sure you have, Nescafe coffee, which is like a Folgers to them, our Folgers coffee and Nescafe coffee. Okay, well, Nescafe coffee is just like a Folgers to them, okay? It now costs $47 US in Lebanon. That's insane. Who would have ever thought that a jar of, because Nescafe coffee is like an instant coffee. It's $47 US in Lebanon. How much does Nescafe coffee cost here in, like, say, Walmart or Stormy Bug in Walmart or Target? He wants to say hello. Hi, son. But seriously, how much does a jar of Nescafe coffee cost in Walmart or Target? Think about it, okay? A small jar of jam, preserves or even jelly, $50. Stormy Bug, stop it. Rice, lentils, and tea are all unattainable. So, no, Stormy, no. Ooh. So, think about it. Like, you know how I go to Sam's and I buy the big 25-pound bags of white rice for $10? That's even just a small bag that you can get, the 1-pound bags of rice at Dollar Tree. That's totally unattainable in Lebanon. They put restrictions on how much money you can pull out of ATMs daily and monthly. So think about every time you need to pay a bill, or you say, all right, well, I got to go to the ATM because my lawn guy is coming, right? Because you don't write checks anymore, or maybe he doesn't take your ATM or credit, because he doesn't have like the square thing attached to his cell phone or whatever. Okay, so you go to the ATM and you take money out to pay him either by cut or by the month, because I pay my guy monthly, right? So now you can't go to the ATM and take out money or how much money you need to pay your lawn guy, okay? So think about things like this. Like, what is the norm for you? But now if you live in Lebanon, that norm is no more. Lebanon produces almost nothing and imports almost everything. Sound familiar? It was a huge vacation destination and is known as the Paris of the Middle East, but has now fallen. Many Lebanese are Christian or Catholic, but Hezbollah or Hezbollah, am I pronouncing that correctly? Has taken over, and it's gone to crapola. They have grid problems, so only have electricity for maybe 4 hours a day. So for people who live like out in California, and you know how in the summer they do those constant rolling blackouts? Well, this is 24/7, 365. So imagine that. Almost everyone has a generator there, but their power is not reliable. She says, I noticed everyone has a portable power bank for cell phones, iPads, tablets, and a mini fan because it gets hot there. That's where I got the mini fan idea. She sent me a text message with the mini fan that she found, which, yeah, I ordered one. I joined their barter group on Facebook called Libontroc, Libontroc, and noticed the constant need for children's clothes and shoes and thought, oh, crapola. Kids grow out of shoes and clothes every year, and then you have winter and summer. In hyperinflation, a freaking light bulb is no longer attainable, much less a new wardrobe. Fans of all sizes were a big request too, because it gets 100 degrees there in the summer. I learned a lot about prepping from their event as well as Venezuela's. I attached some tweet screenshots for you to check out, and here's a couple of short YouTube videos. So, okay. So this is another discussion that we have to have, okay? Excuse me. Throat dry, high pollen count. It's driving me nuts. So, I honestly didn't know about this, about Lebanon. So, this is something else that we can learn from, okay? So, I will attach these tweets at the end of this video, okay? And let's talk about this, all right? I'll see you in the next one. I love you. Stay safe, keep prepping, stay positive, and as always, fearless. Bye.
The latest casualty of Lebanon's deepening economic crisis, a warning by the central bank that it will soon stop subsidizing essential goods led to panic buying and distributors stockpiling to sell at a higher price. Many commodities have already become unaffordable.
I have a sick daughter at home. She's handicapped, and she takes 9 medicines for epilepsy, including Decaltol, which I can't find. I have been going from one pharmacy to another.
We managed to find an alternative medicine for my mother who is suffering from a chronic heart disease. What if that runs out as well? My mom will die from a heart attack.
The central bank has been using what is left of its foreign currency reserves to support basic imports after the local currency lost 80% of its value in the past year. Political authorities insist subsidies should not be lifted. They fear social unrest. But there are those who argue against the policy because it encourages the smuggling of cheap fuel and medicine to neighboring countries. They say a safety net should instead have been created for the poor. The remaining reserves is made up of money of depositors who have had little access to their bank accounts for nearly a year. Many need to use their savings to make ends meet. For months now, banks have stopped dispersing dollars and restricted withdrawals in the local currency because of the crisis.
The basic things we can get it. We can go to the supermarket. My supermarket expenses is, let's say, 250,000, which is the minimum thing. And what we are allowed to get is almost a bit higher than that. So they're almost killing us with that.
The central bank has been printing money to finance the government and banks. It needs to print less to stop inflation, but many warn that will cause even more problems.
So you won't have enough cash in the market. So all the poor people who live out of cash, like all those merchants who would sell you vegetables in the street, all those employees who usually take their salaries in cash, now cash becomes less limited, and basically you will be sacrificing them, right? You will be throwing them into even more poverty.
Already, more than 50% of a population of 5 million live in poverty. Lebanon needs international assistance, but that is being conditioned on the political class, blamed for nearly bankrupting the state through mismanagement and corruption, agreeing to a reform-minded government. The choices ahead won't be easy. Sana Khuder, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
Lebanon is hurting, and this time, say many Lebanese, no strangers to fortunes reversed. It's different. You need only catch a glimpse of a haunted face at a charity like this one in Beirut to see what they mean. Fadia Marji says all 4 members of her household have recently lost their jobs. There is nothing in this country, she says. No water, electricity, or food. And with such crazy prices, living here is bad. Lebanon is in the midst of an economic crisis that is redrawing the middle class, sending many tumbling towards poverty. For those already there, it's even worse. Elias Halil is with Beit al-Baraka, which, among other things, runs a free supermarket for those in need, using a voucher system to ease the shame that can come with the asking.
You can see moms, dads who are educated, who used to have jobs, never begged for anything. They are begging for the pot of milk or for the bag of rice, which is honestly devastating.
The carrots being handed out come courtesy of the Lebanese Food Bank. The executive director says charities themselves are struggling to stay afloat.
The economic situation, the coronavirus, everything is mixed up. So the people who are not able to think about the future.
But the seeds of Lebanon's current crisis were planted well before the pandemic. Sectarian political elites accused of lining their own pockets and trying to run the country on what critics describe as a foreign investment Ponzi scheme.
It's the bankers, the central bank, and the politicians who, to my mind, were all in bed together. They played a very high-risk stakes game with the money of ordinary Lebanese.
Last fall, revolution was in the air. Thousands of people jamming the streets across the country and across sectarian lines to demand change. But since then, the Lebanese lira has lost 80% of its value, a disaster in a country that relies heavily on imports. And many of the shops and restaurants that closed during the coronavirus lockdown are slumbering still. Calls for help from abroad have so far gone unanswered, the International Monetary Fund linking any cash injection to a firm end to corruption.
Unfortunately, the current political class, they're showing every resistance to carrying out the reforms needed. And quite frankly, they continue operating as if it's a business as usual.
And it's hardly that. The lights are literally going out in Lebanon. Power cuts in some cases lasting up to 20 hours at a time. Private hospitals, by far the majority in Lebanon, are threatening to shut their doors, struggling to buy medicine and fuel to keep generators going.
We don't have enough money in our hands to run the day-to-day operations. The hospitals are reaching a point where they will not be able to admit patients, only critical patients.
Not surprisingly, those who can are trying to leave. In an apartment perched over the famed Beirut skyline, Micheline Aoun and her husband Bruno Melki know they occupy a place of privilege, still more than managing. But they're hoping for visas to Canada soon.
I don't see any hopes in the near term. Honestly, otherwise I would have stayed.
Melki, a dentist, calls Lebanon a failed state.
Since I was a child, I always listened to my grandfather say, tomorrow it will be better. My father used to say, you will see, tomorrow it's gonna be better.
It's a promise they'd like to make to their own children and keep. To them, that means leaving Lebanon. It implies a terrible loss of faith, and those left behind fear a brain drain that will set the country back even further. Wissam Harb used to play at bars and restaurants. Now he tries to earn what he can, busking. There is nothing, he says, not even a little bit of hope. Everyone is thinking of emigrating. Lebanon is finished. The country has stood on this precipice before, the difference being that no one's betting on Lebanon anymore. Not even its own people. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.